We all want to engage learners. Not only does it feel great to create training that people actually enjoy taking and look forward to, but when the training is engaging, it's more effective. Engaged learners pay more attention, they persevere more, they learn more, and yes, they apply it more, which means your training makes a real-world difference and relieves an actual headache for your client, and that makes you a must-have asset. And most instructional designers I speak to are passionate, they're smart, they care. So why is it so damn hard for us to make training that engages people? The answer, as you'll see in this video, is that most of the time we're doing the exact opposite of what we should be doing. So today I want to go through some not so obvious do's and don'ts when it comes to learner motivation. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Mary Jo, and it's my life's work to help you use the right game mechanics, not gimmicks, to boost the impact of your e-learning. So let's get started. I've said it before, a well-gamified program is organized in layers around your content with cognitive mechanics as the core. Cognitive mechanics are those challenges that you design to keep learners actively thinking and making decisions instead of passively consuming information. This is critical if you want to engage learners and change behavior. But today, I want to focus on the second layer, motivational mechanics. I've spent a lot of time criticizing these mechanics on this channel, and the reason is that in most cases, designers think that that's all there is to learner motivation. I mean, the name says it, motivational mechanics. You just take your content as is with its walls of text and multiple choice quizzes, you skip the cognitive mechanics, and you just slap rewards onto it or Beyond videos, and poof, learners engage. The problem, of course, is that if your core activity sucks, I don't care how many incentives you slap onto it, you can make the learner go through it, but not actually pay attention, not really. So the number one issue is that we rely only on motivational mechanics without paying enough attention to the core activities. But assuming you've got that core right, the second problem is the types of motivational mechanics that people often choose. So first, let's look at the classic missteps in learner motivation. Number one, treating the learner like a Pavlovian dog. This is what my friend Roman calls do the trick, get the treat. If your motivational system is set up like that, you are not promoting deep engagement, and you're kind of telling the learner that you see him as a bit of a cocker spaniel. Nobody likes to be condescended to like that. Plus, extrinsic rewards can actually backfire. There's a famous study about children who were playing with markers. Before the experiment started, the kids would just spontaneously choose to play with the markers because they liked it intrinsically. And then when the experiment started, one group of kids was told they'd get rewards for playing with the markers, so they did it more. But once the experiment ended and they were no longer getting rewarded, those kids who had been getting rewarded ended up playing with the markers significantly less than before. So rewarding that behavior that they were doing spontaneously actually extinguished it. That's called the over-justification effect. The second misstep is creating negative engagement. You've probably seen apps or games that keep you coming back through scarcity tactics like if you don't log in every day, you're gonna lose your streak. And in that case, we're not necessarily engaged, we're just trying to avoid a kind of punishment. That kind of tactic can leave the learner feeling a bit dirty. We want them to want to come back because they feel accomplished, not because they're forced into it. The third misstep is one that drives me the craziest, using games as rewards. You have the learner slog through some boring training and then you give them a completely unrelated game to play as a reward. I mean, you're basically saying, we know our training sucks, we don't know how to make it better, but here's something to make up for it. Please waste more of your time playing Pac-Man. This happens a lot more often than you think, and if you're doing it,
stop it. Get some help.
Okay, enough about what not to do. Now let's see some easy to implement motivational mechanics that do work. And as I'm going through these, I want you to try to figure out what they all have in common. Number one is kind of a cheat, but it's so important that I have to mention it. You really motivate learners by making them feel clever. So what you're doing in the cognitive mechanics, that is turning your content into challenges, is not only making the training more effective, but it's also a huge source of learner motivation. Okay, I've mentioned it. So now number two, pique learner curiosity. You can make a weird or surprising claim at the start that makes them want to know more. Like in this course, you'll learn which kitchen spice makes you remember more if you smell it while you're studying. I'll tell you what that spice is later on. See what I did there? You can also tease upcoming content. So here's a course about photography, and my first level is intro to the equipment, and I've got some pretty boring pictures to take. And the rest of my content is blocked off, but I can see that later on, I'm going to have much more exciting subjects, maybe weddings, nature photography, sports, news, glamour shots, whatever. The point is, it's locked, but I can see it, and that can be tantalizing, and I'll work to unlock it. Of course, if you use randomness in designing your challenges, there's always going to be a surprise around the corner for the learner. Uncertainty is a big part of the engagement, so find ways to be unpredictable. One way is to generate your challenges on the fly. For example, if the goal is to come up with the best tourist activity, you can generate that challenge by randomly picking a city, an activity type, and a season. Number three, Give the learner autonomy. I recently made a whole video about how important it is to give learners control over the experience, but one of the most important takeaways is that this actually helps fight learner fatigue. Let's say you've got this training program about the solar system and they have to complete all these lessons about the moon. There's absolutely no reason to make them do all of these in a row. If instead you give me choice of activity, then when I get moon burnout, I can choose to explore these Mars lessons for a little while and then come back to the moon. That keeps me in the training instead of making me control tab over to YouTube. Number 4, special achievements. I am not talking about badges here. I mean rare and meaningful achievements. For example, in a virtual patient simulator, you might award a Master Communicator achievement if a learner handles a difficult scenario flawlessly without any hints. This isn't about saying, congratulations, you clicked next 15 times. It's about highlighting exceptional moments like a perfect score on high difficulty. That's the right way to use scarcity. And at the end of the program, you can show them the awards they've gotten and maybe even the ones that they're close to getting with a little bit of extra practice. So that's how we honor special accomplishments. But number 5, every bit of success deserves to be celebrated. And in order to be celebrated, it needs to be shown. I'm not just talking about progress bars here, although they're very effective. But what we always forget is that in most courses, we're working towards multiple goals simultaneously. I'm 90% of the way through this lesson here, but I'm also 30% of the way through the module and 78% of the way through the entire program. The closer we are to a goal, the less likely we are to abandon it. So the more of these you have, the more likely it is that at any one time when you're tired and you want to leave, you're just about to complete one of these goals. So you'll stay. So show the learner every bit of progress. And it doesn't always have to be on screen at all times. When the learner's doing something that's bringing them closer to, like a special achievement, for example, you can just have it quickly pop onto the screen for a few seconds to remind them to keep going. All right, so have you figured out what all these motivational mechanics have in common? The answer is they're all using existing content. The motivational layer isn't about adding more stuff on top of your core content, but rather it's about how you organize the content you've already got, how you tease it, how you incentivize the learner to go beyond the passing grade, and it's about making all of that progress more salient. You don't have to spend a lot of time down the rabbit hole of graphics and extra bells and whistles, or coming up with new rewards that might excite 2% of your learners, if that. Just pique their curiosity about your content, give them choices, show off every bit of progress, and keep things fresh. You don't design more, you design smarter. And if you want to create gamified training that's never gimmicky, come and join us in the Effective Gamification Framework, where I show you step by step how to go from a learning objective to a gamified program that makes a real world impact and makes you the must-have asset on the marketplace. So check that out below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.